Hey guys, welcome back to Love Your Shelf. I'm Tracy, and today I'm going to talk to you about something that I just accidentally stumbled upon that is literally the answer to like what I need to do right now. As soon as I saw it, I was like, yes, this is fantastic. This is exactly what I need. When I started my goal for the year as far as books to read, I put 72. Last year I read 91. My goal was 100. I didn't make it, but in that I realized that there were some books that I didn't get to enjoy because they were larger books. And so I put my goal at 72 this year, knowing that I wanted to read a few large books and a lot of series books, which tend to be larger. Like normally there's multiple pages, a lot more pages in series books as well. So I set it at 72 instead of 100 or 150 or 105 or something more than I did last year, specifically because it's about reading the books you want to read. And I felt like if I set my number too high, I wasn't reading all the books I wanted to read because the goal was to get 100 books. So I set it at 72. And I have not read a lot of huge books. I have read a few, 2 books total this year, over 500. And I was just watching BookTube and I ended up finding a BookTuber that I had never listened to before or watched before. And her name is Sue Jackson, and she's doing something called Big Book Summer of 2024, which she does every year, and she gives away some swag for Big Book Summer. Now, the goal is to read a book that's at least 400 pages between Memorial Day and Labor Day. So it started May 24th. I've been getting March and May mixed up a lot lately. I don't know what that's about, but it happens. So it starts on May 24th. And it goes until whenever Labor Day is, like the first Monday in September. I have already read a book over 400 pages as of May 24th. It's currently May 30th. This won't air until the beginning of June. But I've read a book over 400 pages already, and I'm almost halfway through a second book that's over 400 pages. So that's awesome. So I'm already doing this. And this is why I set my goal lower this year. So I'm going to try to read as many big books this summer as I can. So I'm very excited. So I have a list. It's 15 books. And the cool thing is I do have other books that I want to read that's over 400 pages. So if I start reading a book and it's not in my wheelhouse of what I'm looking for, I'm not going to feel obligated. I'm going to switch it out and do something else. We'll see what happens. It's a pretty steep goal, but I want to talk to you about these books for Big Book Summer. So the first book that I read is Ember in the Ashes, which is the first book in a trilogy. Nope, that's a lie. 4-book series, quadrilogy, quartet, whatever you call it. And I'll put that up here. I read it by audio, so I actually don't have it with me. The second book I'm currently reading is The Boys in the Boat. So, Ember in the Ashes was 446 pages. The Boys in the Boat is 9 Americans and their epic quest for gold at the 1936 Berlin Olympics. This will be the second Daniel James Brown book that I'm reading this year. He's really good at taking nonfiction books and making them super interesting. And so far, this is no exception. I'm on page around 200-ish. And it's pretty good so far. So it has actually 404 pages. It barely makes it, but there's a lot of books on here that are really making it. So the third book on my list is Gideon the Ninth, which I actually did start. It has 448 pages. The next book is Priory of the Orange Tree, which has 1,848 pages according to Goodreads, but I've been really wanting to read it. It's part of a duology. So Ember in the Ashes, Gideon the Ninth, Priory of the Orange Tree, those are all books that will also help me with my goal of reading series books. this year. So we'll see how it goes. Lonesome Dove is on my list this year. I don't know how it happened, but I have just been hearing about it nonstop. It's one of Stephen King's favorite books, but I've never read Stephen King, and he's scary. Like, I'm just such a wuss about everything. It's not what I'm about. So, but everyone that reads Lonesome, I mean, probably not everyone, but I've been hearing it everywhere. I've randomly watched booktubers that are like, Lonesome Dove, top 10 favorite book ever, of course, of course, of course. And then, randomly out of nowhere, one of my friends was like, I'm going to read Lonesome Dove. So, okay, we're reading Lonesome Dove. Got it. That's 960 pages. Speaking of Stephen King, I also have Fairy Tale on here, so I have never read a Stephen King book, and I heard this is like a little suspenseful, but not as scary as some of his other books, which any book by Stephen King is scary to me. So a little suspense is still probably gonna scare me because I'm a wuss, but it'll be okay. And that book is 608 pages. Then I'm going to read Name of the Wind. And a lot of these I already put on hold on Libby, with the exception of like 2 or 3 that aren't on there for my library. So I'm gonna have to figure out if I'm gonna like physically read these gigantic books. So I'm almost done. Then other books. Oh, The Love Songs of W.E.B. Du Bois clocks in at 816 pages. It's by Honoré Fanon Jeffers. And when I first started listening to booktubers, Jack Edwards said that this was a really good book, and it's been on my list since then. So I'm excited to check that out as well. When I went to Barnes & Noble one time, I randomly got this book, Curious Tides, which is also the first book of a duology / series. There's 2 books out right now. I don't know if there's supposed to be more. But it's so beautiful. Like, look at it. It has one of the things. Oh, it has like moons on each page. Do you see? And I assume the moons change. I guess it's not on each page, but it has a lot of really beautiful things in it. So I got this book because it's gorgeous. Song of the Drowned Gods. I have no idea what it's about. It clocks in at 544 pages. So there's definitely some big books on here. I have almost a 2,000 page book, almost a 1,000 page book, a few 600 to 800 page books. Then I have A Gentleman in Moscow by Amor Towles. I really want to read A Table for Two, but A Gentleman in Moscow has been on my list forever. And I recently think I heard that Ewan McGregor might be doing a movie. And if that's a thing, I'm 100% about that. But I definitely need to read that book. And then hopefully I'll love it and I can read A Table for Two also. Then I have A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. And this is part of a 2-book series, a duology, I believe. I don't know if she's coming out with more, but River Enchanted is number 1. It is clocking in at 480 pages, and if I have time, hopefully I'll be able to read the other one. If I don't have time, I'll read the other one by the end of the year, but hopefully I could fit that in too. But it's not on my list because I also want to be realistic, so we'll see. Carve the Mark by Veronica Roth. This is supposed to be a series as well, but my dog got a hold of it a little bit. Another good reason to read it, because Moose picked it out for me. So I love Veronica Roth. When Divergent came out, she did... Yes, Divergent's a lot like Hunger Games. She did a few things that other people don't do that I really enjoy. And I'm not going to tell you, like, I'm sure everyone's seen it or read it, but I don't want to give away spoilers. So it made me a diehard Veronica Roth fan. And I read Chosen Ones a few years ago, which was also amazing. Not a 5-star read, but like easily a 4.5. And I don't really know what Carve the Mark is about, but it came out before. The Chosen One, so I'm excited to read it as well. And that's clocking in at 468 pages. Then I also have The Hate U Give, which a ton of people have recommended to me. I haven't read the movie. I haven't read it. That's accurate. I have not read the movie. I do love me a subtitle though. But I haven't watched the movie and I haven't read the book. So I'm very excited to read this. I've heard nothing but good things about it. So I heard it's also devastating, but also not as devastating as I've heard A Little Life is. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll find out. We'll see what happens. Next, you'd think this book isn't a lot, but it's We the Living by Ayn Rand. This is one of the Ayn Rand books I have not read yet. The lighting doesn't look great on this. Oh, it's because someone put a sticker over the cover. That's frustrating. Anywho, I have not read We the Living yet. It doesn't look like much, but it is 486 pages. 87, 88, 89. It's almost 500 pages. 491. So, it definitely is over 400, even though it looks small. Print is also small. I like Ayn Rand. I read The Fountainhead, Atlas Shrugged, Anthem. So I haven't read We the Living yet. My sister just read it. She said it's really good. And my other sister's like, I agree. And my sisters don't agree on a lot. So if they both say a book is good, I'm going to read it. And then that's almost all of them. I think there's one more. It's the one that I decided to read instead of A Little Life, which I've heard nothing but amazing things about, and now my best friend is starting it. She started reading it, so I'm gonna read it too. The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Thurton, which I also think is probably gonna be devastating. But it's a beautiful book, and this book blew my mind. Utterly original and unique. I'm very excited about it. So I'm excited about all these books. I'm excited to start Big Book Summer. Thank you, Sue Jackson, for randomly, it's not random for you, but it was random that I happened upon your booktube at the most perfect time. I will forever be in debt to you. So thank you so much for doing that. It's a great idea to start by just getting a bunch of huge books out of the way. Let's do that and have all of these books read. And like, I already started thinking about what I want on my list next year and how I can get through those gigantic books. So I challenge myself to read these 15 books, 9,556 pages in 102 days. I will check in and let you know how it's going. But since you are here, Ember in the Ashes. So I have finished that, and I didn't like the two main characters the point of view was around. Literally nothing good happens to them ever. And as a person, I want them to be okay, but I'm not intrigued enough with the story, I think, to continue I will eventually read it because I want to know what happens. It's weird because there's random magic no one really talks about that's barely explained in the book. And my favorite character, Helene, nothing's from her point of view. And I really want that. So hopefully someday we'll get it. Veronica Roth went back and wrote Four's point of view, which I never read. But, maybe someday. I haven't read the other three. So maybe Helene's point of view will be in there somewhere. I don't know. Let me know if it is. I know some of you have read Ember in the Ashes. And The Boy. Those are the books that I chose for Big Book Summer 2024. I hope that some of you also get inspired to read a big book or two or three